You know what time it is, people. Welcome into another edition of Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore, Nico Cantor, JayDee Dyer. And the biggest question coming out of the weekend is the most important one. One trophy down, 3 to go. Can Arsenal still create an incredible season? Will it be treble or trouble? You let us know in the comments as to how you feel after their debacle at Wembley. But Nico, this is the most important question. How do Arsenal respond after disappointment?
Poor Arsenal fans. It seems like we've built Arsenal up for the entire season, and now that they're actually out of one competition, it's like we expect them to sweep through because, in fact, they're actually the favorites in every single tournament they're still alive in the Prem, of course, but in the Champions League, that 28.4% is the most favorited team to lift the title in the FA Cup as well. So I'm curious to see how it all ends up playing out for Arsenal.
Yeah, it ends up playing out is one thing, but I think people don't sometimes quantify how difficult a treble can be. There's only been a few teams in the history of the game that have done so. Of course, most recently Man City. Take it back to 99, the infamous Man United team that had done it as well. This is one of the hardest feats in football to do, and there's a reason because, you know, it's the congestion, it's the mental, it's the physical, it's also how good your squad is, right, all the way through. So when you start progressing, you start seeing all of the things in terms of what Arsenal have to feat this year. I don't think it makes this task super easy, especially when you look at this one, because them scoring first, you can see that they're asserting their dominance. Arsenal's known for their stability and especially their defensive presence. But Nico, does this concern you when they concede first?
A little bit, yeah. It does concern me. You only win 3 of those games. They don't often concede first. I mean, look at the comparison between the numbers. 34 games in scoring first versus just a handful of games when conceding first. But I do think it says a little bit about the team, about going after it, going like when you're down, make a move, adjust and change what you have prepped to go for the game, right? But it's I think at this point they have enough of a lead, at least in the Premier League, to be able to see it out. And when we talk about seeing it out, compare it to Manchester City, who's been chasing them, who only has a 9.2% shot at winning it. Look at fixture congestion. That's a question where City, I guess if you want to call it a silver lining, you know, out of the Champions League, don't have that much to focus on when you compare it to what Arsenal has.
That's true. And sometimes focusing on a singular competition can be so much easier in terms of, as you talk about, the physical exertion, the mental exertion, and more importantly, combining the two to put it together. But I'm so glad you used that word travel, because when I actually start paying a little bit of attention to these fixtures, I mean, the Fulham game is going to be based in London. The West Ham game, you can have the away symbol next to it, but it's still going to be based in London. The Champions League, of course, we don't know as to how they're going to feature or where they're going to feature as of yet. But there is a lot of big games, but really quite, I would say, spaced out. I know that sounds quite weird to say, because you think about it, from the 4th of April to the 28th, they're going to play at least 6 games. But that's kind of a standard, that's a standard procedure at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
And what did you say at the beginning? I heard you allude to it. The squad depth that Mikel Arteta has built is for this section of the season.
Arsenal understood that to be where they are right now, they need to have a squad as deep as they have. And mind you, you see these April 26th and these April 25th Premier League fixtures for both teams. If they are to advance in the FA Cup, the FA Cup fixture would come here and they would have to make up a game. Mind you, Arsenal already made up their game. City hasn't. So if City gets here, I don't know where they're going to have to put in another fixture around there. It's going to be a little bit tricky. But this is always the topic at this point. For me, Arsenal gets it done, JD.
As much as you can talk about the nostalgia of Arsenal winning the Premier League, they haven't done it for over 2 decades. The Champions League, if you ask some of the fan base, is exactly where their core is at and what they want to see. So this is where we break down the bracket. Since we're in March, I like a little bit of madness, right? Let's dive into some of these, because I believe when you start looking at it and the way they're shaping up, I hear statistically everybody say that Arsenal's had the easier side of the bracket.
They do.
This sporting conversation.
You'd rather play against Sporting if you're Arsenal or PSG if you're Arsenal?
I mean, look, there's no conversation there.
With all due respect.
Defending champions, but Sporting Lisbon have showcased that they have got an upset or 2 in them. You see what that front line looks like.
Without a doubt, they beat PSG in the league phase.
So
league phase.
Talk the talk.
League phase.
Talk the talk.
I agree. I mean, if you told me just pick 3 teams to play in the knockout stage, I probably would have chosen one of these 2 in Atalanta, right? But let's look at Arsenal's path to glory, right? You would expect them to beat Sporting. It's not going to be easy. We don't want to just assume that Sporting are stepovers. Even Bayer Leverkusen got a lot out of Arsenal. They didn't get through that easy. Let's just put Arsenal in the semi-final, potentially against Barcelona or Atletico Madrid. personally, I think Barcelona's going to get through. But funny enough, I almost think it'll be more difficult to play against Atletico Madrid if you're Arsenal than Barcelona if you're Arsenal. Am I crazy to think that?
No, I actually think stylistically Barcelona, and they say styles make fights in this, right? That Barcelona always weighs up. You almost play into Arsenal's hands a little bit. What have Arsenal struggled with? They struggled with breaking teams down this year, the fluidity in the final third. Well, I tell you one thing, there's definitely going to be space when you play against Barcelona.
Right.
They haven't kept any clean sheets for a long while. So that really showcases as to how expansive they can be. It's the opposite side. We're going to test the old school American theory if that semi-final does come out. That defense apparently wins championships and offense is for highlights. Well, that's the best offensive team arguably in Europe against arguably the best defensive team. So history should say defense should win. But we know we're building this to just an eye test as well, and Barcelona in red hot form this year.
Yeah, of course. Offensively, they're rounding off. They look incredible. They have a lot of firepower, but they still have this one very glaring issue that I think has kind of just exposed this blueprint for elite teams to say, this is where we can pick Barcelona apart, despite how good they are offensively. It's going to be awesome no matter what, but it almost feels like it's going to be trickier to play against Atletico Madrid than Barcelona. But between Barca and Atletico Madrid, they have 3 games against each other in the next month. I think Barca's going to get the better of them.
The mental side in terms of that tie is a little bit deeper than, as you say, just in the Champions League. The Copa del Rey is another conversation to have between those two. But then, can we flip it? Now, can we start focusing on the other aspects, which is, well, I'm thinking to myself, if you're going to be able to build a whole season, you have to turn around and handle the FA Cup. You have to be able to handle the Champions League.
Yeah.
And now we can start comparing it to how they look in the Premier League all the way through, right? And when you start breaking it down, I'm concerned a little bit when you start looking at the wider conversation for Arsenal. Can they handle the mental side of it? The big conversation that I know everybody's saying it. Do you think they'll bottle it? That's the bigger conversation.
The Prem?
Yes.
I think they're sure enough of who they are as a football team that they're not going to bottle it. I mean,
look at the difficulty. These are some of the only teams in history that have done this.
So let's just say they do win the Premier League. Let's compare it to the last Manchester City team, or the last English team, excuse me, to win a treble. Because Arsenal, let's just say, will go for the Premier League. But what about the Champions League? This is a reality. Arsenal is close to achieving a treble, right? It's not out of the question. So what does it take to win a treble? And you put them side by side to that Manchester City team, and to me, there's no contest here. That team is much better than this Arsenal team. And perhaps defensively, some of the stats show you that Arsenal perhaps excel more in that department than Manchester City. But I think as we start breaking down these numbers, you're gonna see that this Manchester City team is several levels ahead of this Arsenal team.
I'm also one for the proven commodity in terms of what this City team was able to achieve against a team that is still trying to prove something. So that's a fair statement to say in terms of looking at the success that this team had for such a long period of time, the dominance that they had. I was actually a little bit surprised at how close the stats actually were. But when you start breaking down the individuals that were impacting that season, the Rodgers, the Kevin De Bruyne's, of course, the Riyad Mahrez and Erling Haaland. Wow, 52 goals. Just take a deep breath and take that one in.
I think if you combine Gyökeres, Kai Havertz, Martinelli, maybe even Saka, this is just quick maths in my head. I don't think you get to 52 goals. Maybe you do, but I don't know. I doubt it.
I think the individuals that really impacted that season and showcased themselves as leaders, Arsenal would love a version of that. Right? But I want to kind of do a little bit of fun, because you know we like a little bit of fun here on Numbers Don't Lie, which is, of course, a combined 11. So as much as I might not feel there's much conversation to be had, and Nico might not feel, the more important question is, do you feel that there is a conversation to be had about this combined 11? Now, we're going to caveat by saying that this is Sofascore, so this is put together by their ratings throughout that season and all of the combined things. So when you start seeing it all spread out and the two 11s come together, City, first of all, you break it down. This was Nathan Ake. I think when Nathan Ake is one of his best seasons. John Stones on the right-hand side. I mean, Gundogan, we've spoken about a number of times how essential he was throughout that season. Phil Foden was just breaking out as to who he was. Riyad Mahrez is a conversation in its own right. And Erling Haaland, just 50-odd goals, chilled.
I don't even need to talk about Haaland, but also Grealish on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
That year, like, offensively, all right, great. We know how talented he is. The defensive effort that he put, the work rate that he had to track back, operate in those areas to help out Ake, man, that was the best version of Grealish that I've seen. So let's put both 11s together and see who from this Arsenal team makes the 11.
Interesting. Go for David Raya and goal. I'm not upset about that because I think Ederson was a great goalkeeper and I still think David Raya is a great goalkeeper. So that's apples and pears. I'm surprised looking at this back line. Kyle Walker, element of question mark, a little bit of disrespect. Julian Timber's a good player, but let's not talk down on the way that Kyle Walker was playing in that year. You've already heard Gundogan get his flowers from me already in terms of what he's done. So Declan Rice being in that conversation tells you about the level that he's at right now. And then we got the conversation about the right-hand side. So naturally, if we're going to have a conversation about the two players that are playing in that position, then we have to do a side-by-side, right? Bukayo Saka and Riyad Mahrez. I don't know how big of a conversation this is, and I want you to just really tuck in for a second because the greatness of Riyad Mahrez throughout his City tenure was underrated. I've gone as far as to say I think this might be the greatest African player to ever play in the Premier League as an individual quality. Mohamed Salah, Didier Drogba, all the other ones in terms of what they created and their status and their stats, but as an individual quality, oh my gosh, Riyad Mahrez was phenomenal.
Are you kidding me?
Phenomenal.
I think there's one African player that you're missing in Marwan Shamak, bro. Come on.
Anyway. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, can I just say something before we start comparing these two guys? This guy at this point knew well what it was like to win a Premier League title, and not with Manchester City. He was already at the top of his level when he was winning with Leicester City, or maybe not even at the top of his level, but showing enough quality where he says, all right, I'll show you how to win a Premier League title along with Vardy, right? Kind of carrying that attack of Leicester City. So he just kind of kept on getting better. And I mean, look at these stats. And Saka's gone quiet.
Look, the question marks around Bukayo Saka is in two aspects. I think there's definitely a fitness concern. This is just me just watching in terms of from the sharpness, the turn of the ability. But it doesn't take away from what the brilliance that this guy does. And I will not stop echoing this. What he was as an individual in terms of both in the Leicester City shirt and then in the Man City shirt, wow. I don't think we had seen or appreciated how good he was in that short spell for as long as he was as well.
I mean, look what you need for everything to come together for you to actually win a treble. This Arsenal team has a certain reality right now. They can win all three trophies, but we were saying something similar about Inter a couple of years ago in the 2022-23 season. They were alive in everything, and they didn't end up winning.
Before we throw it to the people, can I throw a nugget out there?
Okay.
Why don't you tell me if you think that the Man United team for that turn of the century was even where they weigh up in this conversation, because I do believe that Giggs, Scholes, Keane, Beckham, that team right there, Cole and York, Irwin, Gary Neville, yeah, they were up there as well. But you have the conversation. First of all, can Arsenal complete the treble? Secondly, how do they weigh up against the previous treble winners? And more importantly, get involved in the comments and let us know how you feel.
Hey, thanks for watching this video from Numbers Don't Lie. Be sure to catch our show every Monday at 5 p.m. on YouTube. And for news and insights from leagues all around the world, including Serie A, EPL, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.